Welcome.
Are you going to start singing the introduction?
Welcome to the Nick Dick
Okay, that's too
Paul
much.
Show.
I'll stop immediately. I can't take it.
Welcome to the Nick, Dick, and Paul Show. This week, we're doing a part two to our wellness episode that you will have heard a couple of weeks back. And we are going to be talking about longevity and how there are lots of fake doctors out there that pretend they're real doctors and people who are trying to live forever. And I just found a crazy statistic, I didn't know this, that the wellness industry now accounts for $6 trillion. It's 6% of the global GDP. It's 3 times more than pharmaceuticals.
Yes, sure.
That is
Yeah.
bananas.
And growing faster.
Yeah, by the way,
And
it's
growing faster,
yes. Yeah.
And it's projected
I was going to say and growing faster, and then you guys both said it, and I was like, do I add a third and growing faster?
You should have just said, no, it's not.
I was like, damn it. I wanted to say
I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah.
How is that possible? Can someone explain that to me?
Why
9 trillion by 2028?
One, yeah, easy. Literally, A, people don't want to die. B, other people can tell you how not to die. C, profit. Serious. I mean, not too far from that. Not too far from that.
But the B
people
part,
constantly looking for
shortcuts.
What's another shortcut that can allow me to live longer, live healthier, live better, be stronger, be more attractive, have crisper, cleaner skin. Crisper skin? What's the word we're looking for?
who is
creamier?
who is
creamier skin?
making this
Smoother
$6
skin?
trillion? Is it a bunch of influencers?
My Uncle Phil in Pittsburgh. No.
There's probably a dozen major supplement companies that are among the largest of these things. Nature's Choice.
Pure encapsulations.
And they're doing just gigantic business.
By the way,
in
you know, if you go walk into Whole Foods and go look at the pure encapsulate, pick any one of these 12 and, you know, pick up whatever you want to pick up. Alpha lipoic acid, 37, 30. These things don't cost. It's crazy how much the margins on these things are enormous.
Right.
But, you know, the question people ask themselves is, you know, what's it worth for me to be able to have clearer skin and be better, better in bed?
It's also the reverse too, where it's like, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? I mean, I might as well try it, right? And that actually
100%.
that pulls people in all the time because it's not like they said, well, I was thinking this today of doing some chemotherapy just to see how it goes. But
Yeah, I got to tell you, there's an ad on during the NFL games on Sundays. For some pharmaceutical product, and I don't know what it is. But all I remember, because it caught my attention, is the very end when they're going through the warnings.
Oh, yeah.
The last warning, I actually screenshot it. The last warning, and I'm not making this up, is may cause life-threatening bacterial infection between the anus and genitals. And I was like, I don't even know what this product is. Wait.
Does it actually say anus and genitals?
Yes, on TV and he says it, and then it's also written there in case for the hearing impaired. And all I thought to myself was, whatever this thing does, who sees that and goes, worth it?
sign me up.
I mean, you know what? The hell with it, I'm in.
This is the thing that's been missing from my life.
What could it be where that's like,
I
who
just have
among
so
us?
many questions. What is
I don't know what it was.
life-threatening
Anyway.
between what can be life-threatening between your anus and your genitals?
Also, I mean, everything. I think is the short answer. No,
Like seriously,
anyway.
Is it?
I'm just telling. I don't know.
Rash that kills you?
I don't know.
It's a killer
I don't
rash.
know. Anyway,
But the point being, like, for a lot of these products, no, like it's true. But you see this on all these products.
Yeah.
They all have these wild disclaimers. And my favorite always is whatever it is it's supposed to cure turns out also to be a side effect.
That's what I'm thinking about. I just imagine the doctor,
so
the
$6
researcher.
trillion number is, it's a crazy number, but going up because for those reasons, I want this to be better. this proposes to fix one aspect of it. It's an extraordinary amount of money that doesn't make any rational sense.
No.
But what's the harm in trying it? What if it does work?
Right. What if it does work? And that's the thing across so many of these. And it's not just the therapies. It's also like, cold rocks on my head or whatever. All of these things. It's like, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? Right. I mean, could work.
I might as well try it.
Do you think when they were doing the drug testing for that drug,
I mean,
they sat down and the guy across the researcher was like, so do you have any side effects?
here's the deal. Obviously, someone
did. We've lost him. There's a man down.
It's because I'm watching you laugh for the first time ever.
Not true. I laugh all the time.
Obviously, someone did, and it was life-threatening.
Yeah. Hence the disclaimer. This is why lawyers exist.
Hence the disclaimer.
But say we didn't
by the
tell
way,
you.
there was a negotiation. Like, do we have to say? Do we have to say? I have 3 questions. Do we have to say life-threatening, and are we allowed to say anus and genitals during Sunday at 2 p.m.?
Oh, that's a good point.
Because some kid's watching the game with his dad, and I was like, Dad, what are the anus and the genitals?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, Dad, I saw this on the shelf upstairs. Do I need to know anything?
Yeah.
You all right over there?
No.
Okay, going back to. Oh man,
Who knew this was your touchstone?
this is his Waterloo right there.
Right there.
I mean, I've got it on my phone. I can show you the
I don't need
image
to see
of
it.
the
I'm good.
disclaimer.
The rash? Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
It's not a rash. It's a bacterial infection.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's a bacterial infection.
It's not a rash. Anyway,
But
Do we have
that
to cut
people are
that
willing
whole
to take
thing?
that people are willing to take that drug anyway. Again, tells you the problem. Like it
Tells
doesn't
the problem.
it doesn't seem to matter what the disclaimers say.
it clearly doesn't seem to. This is like imagine. Is there like? Let's play invent the worst possible disclaimer. That thing has it. You have got the worst possible disclaimer. They're like, let's throw it in the ad. Go for it. We're going to sell 1 million of these.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to sell it with that kind of side effect if it didn't work.
Yeah. If it didn't do something,
They would have to do something.
why would they be putting that on there if it didn't work?
But this
is what people tell themselves.
But the crazy thing is like we know what works and people don't want to do it. That's the perverse part. Right?
But that's the craziest part because the pharmaceutical industry is worth 1/3 of the wellness industry.
yeah, but no. I don't even mean that the thing that works in terms of drugs that work.
We know it works.
Oh, you mean the health?
One, move
Move
a
your body.
lot, a little bit differently every day. B, get 7 to 8 hours of sleep.
Right.
C, eat real food. D, have a group of friends who you socialize with and get some sort of fulfillment from it.
Make sure you're not paying those friends.
And make sure you're not paying those friends. Yeah.
That's right. Different class of problem.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like that's like 80% of what we know to be the things that most influence longevity are those 4 things, maybe even more. Like leaving aside, if you're bleeding out, you really should stop bleeding out, that kind of thing.
And if you look at physical health, it's strength, strength and VO2 max are, whatever the
Right.
and not drinking and not smoking.
Right.
And
But we know all those things.
we know all those things.
And yet people don't do or don't, depending on them. They don't do those things. And instead, the thing with the bacterial infection, I may be all in on that.
Well, it's GLP-1s to lose weight,
right.
but then that doesn't discriminate between muscle and fat, so people waste away.
I have a different feeling on GLP-1s.
Okay.
I think that they're a good thing. I think that you have.
I don't think they're a bad thing.
I think that you have being overweight causes the list is endless. Heart disease.
We don't disagree with you. I think we're saying people love a shortcut.
Yes, that I agree with. But
I could eat healthy and not do this and not do that, or
I could just do this.
I do take a full dose of this, and then I'll worry about the fact that my muscle is wasting away just as fast as.
Maybe there's a drug for that.
Yeah, there's probably if I wait around long enough, there'll be a drug for that too, and I can take this drug to offset the effects of that drug.
One of the questions I have is when you look at social media, like there's this thing going on in Silicon Valley now where all these people are taking this penile erectile dysfunction drug. Cialis.
Yeah, it's Cialis.
And they're because they read somebody. Okay, it started because a doctor on Twitter had said that it was proven to reduce heart disease and blood pressure.
Oh, because it's a vasodilator? Is that the pitch?
That's right.
And then so all these, it's like everyone I know up there is now taking it, right?
Really?
Yeah, it's a
I
huge
think Brian
thing.
Johnson started this.
Oh,
He was like, I
did he
remember
start
he
this?
said, I'm on a 2.5 milligram
he did.
dose of Cialis every day. And then
Got it.
someone said, you're the Lance Armstrong of boners.
Good line.
Yeah, good line.
Well, but then when you actually look into the research,
Yeah.
it turns out it's all nonsense. And then when you
Is
look
it?
at, you click
It's
on
not
the
nonsense.
It's not
just-
nonsense because it is a vasodilator. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it like does
But
something
it was like an observational studies,
Correct.
men only. I mean, there's all these, the people who most likely to take Cialis are already healthy because these are the people who are already using these drugs. And so there's all these potential
it's not
It's just not a miracle drug.
It's not a clinical study.
But when I clicked on one of the doctors, quote unquote, it turns out the guy was like a self-proclaimed doctor from, it's like, the question is
There are a lot of
why,
doctors.
but the guy wasn't a real doctor. Why is it that
I'm not a real
people
doctor.
don't question? Yes, but you could go on social media right now. I could go on, all of us
I
could.
think I know where Nick's going. And just say, I'm Dr. Paul Kedrosky.
Right.
And you could get all these followers. I wouldn't believe you if I obviously I know you, so I believe you. But like if I didn't know
I was going to say
you,
the other way around, actually. But anyways, okay.
but why is it that I understand that like I want the shortcut, but what is the psychology of wanting to just trust the random person on social media rather than
Because people believe in secret knowledge. That's
And
the
they
big part.
believe in experts. And the expert isn't going to tell me something that's not true.
So if the expert, but also some of those experts have secret knowledge,
Yeah.
right? That they don't share.
Right.
I may have to sign up for a monthly plan or whatever the case may be, but that's their secret. So people have this incredible belief that the truth, like X-Files, is out there, but it's held in these special places. And so if you make it look like secret knowledge, it's incredibly appealing to people that, they know. They know this is actually, it's mattresses are the best, cure for cancer or whatever the case. All of this is just secret knowledge, and that gets shared like, over social media or over emails, or someone neighbor tells you over coffee. It's like, I heard that a friend of a friend did
Oh my God!
this.
Remember during COVID, those like voice notes that would go around. My cousin's brother's sister is a doctor of
course.
COVID research,
Of
and
course.
apparently, if you gargle with hot salt water, you
course.
won't get it.
Right. As
And
long
they
as
were
you're
but
facing north.
But things like, podcasts and social media amplify the secret knowledge factor, right?
Right.
And then, this woman was on Peter Attia's podcast a month or so ago and was going on about, 5, scoopful of creatine, fine, but 2-3 scoops of creatine, studies show XYZ. And when you go and actually look at these studies, it worked. It does it for some people. It doesn't work
Right.
for everybody. It's actually a minority of the people that they triple dose the creatine on that has this beneficial effect on
Right.
it. But all she has to do is say, these recent studies show that blah, blah, blah. And then people, the next thing you know, they're taking 3 scoops of creatine instead of 1 scoop. And
Yeah. And I mean, and part of the problem is that most of medicine doesn't work, right? I mean, the reality is it's very difficult to cure a lot of chronic diseases. We just don't have treatments for many things other than the acute injuries. Like, you're bleeding out, I can do something about that. You break a bone, I can do something about that. But there's a host of things that we can't do anything about. And so people are desperate for solutions to those problems, right? This host of chronic diseases, including cancers and other things. And so if orthodox medicine doesn't have an answer, people, again, want to believe someone has secret knowledge, and they'll go out and find those people. Because there's lots of people perfectly willing to say, well, I know. I know what to do about that. It's obvious.
But when it doesn't work, when does that reality set in?
Well, the history of humans
Never.
with cults is never. Right?
yeah,
It's like the millennial cults.
sets in when you die.
Right. People were told for years that the world was going to end in 1872, then 1878, then 1902. That had no impact on those cults that believed in the end of the world. It actually grew them.
Yeah.
It was good. Turned out it was good word of mouth to have the end of the world not come because it gave you more time to promote the next one. People are desperate to have believe in these things.
I was talking to an oncologist recently who was telling me that he had a very young patient who was going through chemo, and she had been seeing on social media that you should do vitamin C drips while you're going through chemo because it'll help you and whatever. And it killed her because, of course, the vitamin C it has the opposite effect and keeps the cells alive and so on. And it's like, but why is it that those stories aren't the one that's spreading on social media, and it's the stories of...
Because of the ineffectiveness of the treatments. Because people want to believe that there must be a better way, because these are not cures. For the most part, people end up in chronic conditions, the cancer is in remission, but it's not completely gone. So they want to believe there's something else. People are desperate for hope, which is completely understandable. Because outside of the obvious candidates, most things at best bring things into remission. They don't cure anything. That's why they can... The biggest miracle drugs in medical history outside the GLP-1s are like 70 years ago. They're the antibiotics. And those waves of things that actually fix things are really unusual. And so as a result, we're in this moment where it's like, well, there must be something because nothing's come along to fix my problem. So there must be something else.
But there's a specific area of the wellness industry where there is a where there are fortunes to be made. And that is in the related to longevity space, which is, okay, the life expectancy for a healthy, so-and-so XYZ-year-old is, let's say, 80 years old. But we all know that the last, at 73 or 75, it falls off a cliff. So, but if you start taking these things now and subscribing to my, program now and paying this much money for A and B and C, when you get to 75, you won't fall off a cliff, and those last 5, 6, 7 years will be great instead of miserable.
Yeah.
And great, you're not going to know till you're 75 whether it worked or not. And P.S., since you feel great now because you're taking all these things, and I feel pretty good for this age. And it says here on, this chart that I'm in the 98th percentile. I'm going to keep taking these things.
Because it's working.
Because it's working.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's just an enormous it's an opportunity for people to take advantage of, and they do.
And they do. And it's kind of like, what was the thing in the it's like the long con, right? It's like the long con in the Sting is that it plays out over such a long time that people can't even begin to say, well, if I keep doing this now, it's going to add each month I do it now adds a month in 25 years and so on. And they're like, well, I might as well just continue doing this because who knows what will happen otherwise, right? Just keep taking it and taking it and taking it. So it's a great excuse for just continuing to do something, even though you have no proof for 25 years or however long it'll be until you're at that point. So it's a tremendous game that people play. Is this long con with many of these therapies that are supposed to increase health span, because that's the big push, right? It's not just that I want to live longer. I want to live longer in good health.
Right.
And so if this has an effect on that, I won't know for such a long time.
Right.
There's no testing today. There's no way of stopping me. You can't convince me I'm wrong. Right.
Yeah. And you don't have to prove that it's extending people's lives. Right. Because you're just going to say, no, it's not going to extend your life. It's just going to extend the period
where you're healthy.
During which you're healthy.
Right.
And there's no... And
what do I do with that?
You can't prove that that's not true.
Right. What part of it do you guys think is it's replacing religion in some respects? Like this idea that look, all the studies that show that less and less people go to church than ever before, or believe in some higher power, and so on and so forth.
I don't know that it's replacing religion, but it's certainly the case that if you aren't religious and believe that the end of life is the end of the road, then you're going to want to make it go as long as possible, and you're going to put every dollar you can.
But it's like this belief. It's like this system.
I mean, you have people like Brian Johnson and Don't Die. They're going to these crazy extremes. Like, he tweeted the other day, like, he measured the amount of microplastics in his ejaculate. And I never thought I would use ejaculate in a podcast in front of the public, but here we are. But he put it on Twitter. And I thought two things. One, like he was like, I have this amount of microplastics in my ejaculate. And I thought two things. One, I thought, imagine having so much free time. I really thought to myself, Ida can't even get to all my email. And I thought, wow, imagine having the luxury
do microplastic
of having so much free time that I could think to myself. And then secondly, I was like, what are you going to do with that information? I mean, he might as well have said it's mostly packing tape and dust.
That's right.
Okay.
And some
Now what?
What pieces of Smurfs?
What did he? Was there a lot?
No, it's a whole thread, and
But it's actually
a bunch of people responding, and on and on.
The thing that gets people excited, though, is that there is a body of research that says that microplastic contamination is a major source of inflammation, and inflammation can lead to arthritis and all these other things. So this is the seductive thing with all this stuff. It's not that the underlying idea is wrong.
Right.
There's a reason to care about microplastics. It's just, to what length should you go? And are there more important things you could be doing?
Hey, you're let's go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Right. Maybe make some more friends. Are you already, there's so many other things you could be doing.
Yeah.
But watching people optimize at the margin for things that probably will have no impact on them is remarkable, because there's other things you could be doing that have a huge impact. Right.
Yeah.
Run, lift, eat better,
enjoy life.
Yeah. Stop smoking and drinking.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things you could be doing.
Hike,
We know
read books.
that have a huge impact, and yet people don't want to do those.
Do you think Brian Johnson will get hit by a bus? That's how it goes out.
No. Yeah, it's like this. What was the scene? It was No Country for Old Men, where Anton Chigurh is finally getting away, and it's like he's crossing through the intersection. He gets cleaned up.
Yeah.
It'll be a little like that, right? It's like, wow, this guy kind of owns the world, and then the station wagon comes him out.
Does he? How old does he expect? I mean, it's like, what's the point? I don't get it. How old does he want to live to? 100?
Forever.
No, he doesn't want to live
to die.
He wants to don't die. The T-shirt is "Don't Die."
Yeah.
I had lunch with him like 10 years ago when he was normal. He was normal before he was not normal, and then he hadn't sold his company and everything, and then he became not normal.
So you say.
So says you. You're going to be dead in a few years.
It'll be Brian and his plastic ejaculate.
No, it'll be something between my anus and my scrotum that will kill me.
Please, you're not allowed to say scrotum. It's genitals. The word was specifically genitals.
Yeah, it'd be a little more delicate.
Sorry.
Also, it wasn't gender specific.
But
that's true.
But
it could have been either gender.
But is this a generational thing, or is this an everybody thing?
No, I think one of the reasons why this stuff is on the rise in particular is because of an aging population, right? So you got the boomers aging out and saying like, I was told this would go on for some time. And I'm not ready to leave yet because my house hasn't finished appreciating.
Yeah, and my hip's starting to hurt, and my left knee is wobbly, and I got a bum ankle,
right,
or whatever.
So that's, I think, one of the drivers. It's not at the younger end. It's partly because of it's a boomer phenomenon where they're aging out, and it's like, well, there must be more I can do, right?
And does AI
and the falling VO2 max as you get older you start to become. I mean, even when it's high and you start to notice it falls a little bit, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And, most people don't want to do 4x4 minute sprints.
No. Right. It's a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's a lot of trouble, and it's horrible.
Yeah, and you'll probably just tear a hamstring anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So but that's a big part of the problem, is that the things you would have to do to remedy it are just really annoying, right? So people don't want to do it, and they'd rather find another shortcut. But I think part of it is this we're living in this demographically this aging society, and not surprisingly it becomes fixated on whatever I can do to keep the gig going.
And does AI fix it or no, or it makes it worse? How does it make it worse?
Well, what AI, I'll tell you what AI. I've said this before. I think what AI does do is it suggests a whole. I mean, it definitely reinforces what we're talking about. It suggests a whole litany of things you should do for your daily protocol. Mm-hmm. And I think I've said this before. A friend of mine came by and said, well, I asked ChatGPT what vitamins I should, given, I'm this old and I weigh this much and blah, blah, blah. And what vitamin, what supplements should I be taking every day? It's more than happy to suggest a whole range of them to you.
Right.
And I said to this friend of mine, I said, let me guess, I bet you it suggests you take alpha lipoic acid. He was like, it does suggest I take alpha lipoic acid. How do you know? How did you know? And I said, because it suggests that for everybody.
Yeah. Which is like, again.
Of course, and as you might expect, he had no idea what alpha lipoic acid actually does.
It's just the thing that ChatGPT says I should do.
It's one of the 8 things, 10 things, 11 things that.
Yeah. But that consensus-driven stuff on AI is where you end up, right? It's because it's going to make it's a 37-year-old guy on Reddit says. And they're all doing the same thing.
And then the AI reads it and says that's what it is.
Or a podcaster says. I'll tell you what I did that worked.
Right.
I started taking alpha, a capsule of alpha lipoic acid every day, and now my ulnar nerve is fine. Like, oh yeah, it also like recovered over the course of 180 days, like would have if you didn't take alpha lipoic acid.
But we were talking about this earlier, but I mean, I think a lot of it also comes back to people just being like enumerate. Like they literally don't understand the basic math of things. And a good example is, and we've talked about this in other contexts, but like mass screening tests. That's a big thing among the boomer crowd, also among the tech types, that they do these screening tests with hundreds of blood tests and they look at all these markers and it's like, okay, this is preventative screening. I'm doing something really good for myself. But the problem is that most of the things you're screening for have very low population incidences.
Right.
I mean, they're not very common. The things that are pretty common, we have terrific tests for. Like colon cancer, right? We have really good tests for that. You don't need to do something exotic, and we have a good test, and we can actually, during the process of testing, treat it, right? Or at least some forms treat it. But for all of these much rarer diseases, where you can do some of this population screening with blood tests and it has very low incidence, the statistics of that is if something only has like a 0.5% incidence in the population and your test comes back as positive, in all likelihood, it's not, right? So people are getting all of these false positive results on these tests because they say to themselves, I'm doing something preventative for my health. Look what I'm doing with all these tests. No, you're basically lead gen for medical, right? Well, you're just lead gen for new procedures because almost every positive test, if you're otherwise healthy, the odds are it's actually a false positive, which leads to secondary testing. So the system loves you because you've got this, you're a terrific source of additional testing, but it's nothing to do with health. It has to do with the term the doctors use, it's the worried well. The worried well with money are a terrific market. And these are the worried well with money. And they do all these mass screening tests. They don't realize that if something has a low incidence in the population and it comes back as positive, you still probably don't have it.
P.S. When they find out they ultimately don't have it, they're relieved, not furious. They're like, oh, thank God we checked.
Yeah, imagine if it had been positive. Or they tell the reverse story, which is, yeah, I know there were a lot of false positives, but a friend of a friend had that test done. It's like, yeah, that's like saying a friend of a friend won the lottery. I mean, everything, it does periodically work out, but that's not the same thing as saying that across the population, this is a good idea. No, it's a terrible idea because it's all this follow-up testing.
One of the things that's so fascinating about it is it's like it's the one area where people on the right and the left agree. Like they both think that they both believe that that these things can cure them of all these ailments and so on and so. They may be under different names and different rubrics, but they both. What was a neighbor of mine is in.
To your specific point you're just making.
Yeah.
Let's hypothesize there's Dr. X out there, and Dr. X is a podcaster, and Dr. X says, listen, will taking 2 scoops of creatine and an extra hit of psyllium husk fiber and they're going to do anything at the margins? Like maybe, maybe not. But what you really need to do is, you need to do 2 days of zone 2 cardio. You should do either sprints or 4 by 4 minute cardio or blah 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 1 day a week. You should do mobility work for 90 minutes on a weekend when you've got time, and you should lift 3 to 4 days a week, making sure 1 day's like. If there was a guy that or woman who just said that, everyone would go, this guy's a jerk. Let's put that one on again who says take the thing.
Yeah, the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing that's crazy when you watch these podcasts. The guys that are, or the women too, but they are so emphatic about this is it, and there is no other thing, and this is how I do it, and I feel fucking great. And it's like they are so alpha in their.
But that's survivor bias, right? All the people who are like, this might work, this might not. Well, they fall off because they get outcompeted by the people who are absolutely certain.
Who are sure.
Work, right?
Who are sure of it. That's right. This might work. This might do something at the margins, but what we should really do is these things. Also stop eating garbage and blah, blah, and
Yeah.
It's too hard.
It's too hard for people. They don't want to do any of. They don't want to do any of those things. And so, but again, it drives this at the margin. All of these people with false certainty and secret knowledge, because the certainty's incredibly appealing, and the idea that I know a thing that others don't know and no one will listen to me is also appealing.
It sounds exactly like when we've talked about this before, but when you're walking through New York, you're driving through LA, and there's this big long line of all these people that are waiting to buy this thing because they think it's secret and no one else knows about it. Right. And at the Supreme store, this, that, the other. It's the health version of that.
Yeah. Humans like to, it's back to the synchronized fireflies we talked in another episode. It's this idea of as soon as we can observe each other doing a thing, we assume the other person knows something. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. What do they know that I don't know?
What do they know that I don't know?
Yeah.
Because certainly the system can't cure my problem. Mm-hmm. So if it can't cure my problem, and there's a lot of people lined up for this, sign me up, I'm in.
Do you guys do those full body scan things?
No, that's the ridiculous idea.
Do you do it?
No.
Because
exact same reason I don't do the blood panels.
Because you just think they're all...
That's false positive. It's lead gen. It's all lead gen, right? I mean, it's, again, most of the cancers, for example, people do this thinking they're looking for cancers. So most of the time, there's other things. But most of the cancers that will kill you are very fast-moving cancers. Slow-moving cancers, by definition, tend not to be the ones that kill you. So if you're doing an annual test or a biannual test or whatever else, unless you're planning to do it weekly or something insane, you probably won't pick up the thing that kills you anyways.
Except for stomach cancer.
There's exceptions across, but the point is, in general, you're not going to pick up those things because most cancers are slow moving. The ones that are fastest moving probably won't get picked up on the tests anyways, because in all likelihood, between tests, that's probably, and then so the answer people give is, well, I'll just test more often. But now you're into the problem with false positives, right? So it's like, okay, fine, I just saw something. We're going to have to go in and do like an upper endoscopy, and we're going to check and see what. Oh, it turns out it was nothing. But by the way, on the end, I perforated blah blah blah, right? And it's like, wait a minute, this is worse than the thing that I was worried about in the first place. So all these invasive procedures have, leaving aside the cost, they all have consequences. It's not, nothing's perfectly safe, right? There's like an old line in medicine that is like, no benign condition a well-intentioned doctor can't make worse, right? I mean, it's exactly like that. It's, well, yeah, but they wanted me to do this.
I feel like Paul could have been a really good social media influencer.
No,
of course.
Health person.
He speaks with authority.
Yeah,
that's all you need to do.
Take ivermectin, and your cold will go away by Tuesday.
And good hair.
And good hair.
You're in.
You really could have pulled it off.
Yeah. Well, that's my other podcast. Paul the Influencer.
I think also, I'll go back to these when people quote studies, they read the summary, and then they say that as if it's a blanket fact instead of the data showing that in some cases, but not these and not those and not these other ones. They don't look at the detail. They don't study the detail. They quote a study. They abstract the abstract, summarize it, and generalize it. And then everyone thinks, well, I heard on so-and-so's podcast that Dr. So-and-so says there was a study, and it's true 5% of the time.
Yeah, and I mean, science... the initial results almost always fall down. Like the replicability, they call the replicability crisis in science, and it's like, it's endemic. Most studies turn out to be either no effect or weaker effect or weaker effect over time. It's not that the bacteria say, oh, look, they're writing about us. Yeah. We're going to stop doing what we were doing. It's not that they were outed. It's that the original study, for whatever reason, showed a larger effect than actually existed. And that's why it got published. So subsequent follow-ups almost always show a smaller effect size. But it's not because we changed anything. It's just because that's how it got published, was because it found the thing in that moment that had a higher effect size. So big surprise. This doesn't work.
Well, I'm out of questions on this topic because it's really shocking. You got anything else?
No, I think it's actually empowering. I think it's incredibly empowering. Way? Well, because once you realize we actually know the things that work.
We know what works.
Yeah. We know what works.
Yes. And by the way, they're very straightforward and everyone can do them. Maybe,
most people can do
it's
them.
hard for lots of people to get the best possible clean ingredients. I get that. But most people can do, it's hard.
And so you can stop paying attention to all this other stuff out there, all this noise, clear your mind of it, because at the most, it's at the very, very margin, a couple of percent. And I know the things that make up 80 or 90% of the health benefits. That's incredibly liberating. It's like saying, I don't have to take the test. I don't have to take the test anymore. I know there's like 4 things and I'll do those things and then call it a day. That's the thing that I think is really empowering for people. And then to watch people get distracted and go down this rabbit hole of 200 health podcasts and thousands of dollars in supplements and everything else. It's like, you need, the cleanse you need? You need like a cognitive cleanse. You need to clean all that shit out of your brain, because that's the thing that's distracting you and taxing your time. So as soon as whenever people finally realize that, that's incredibly liberating.
Fun. Now, who's the comedian? Is it Birbiglia who did this? He did a great show where
Birbiglia.
Mike Birbiglia, where he got sick or whatever. I think it was Mike. He goes to the doctor. It's not him, actually. It was someone else.
You are such a great storyteller. It's amazing.
I don't even know where that was going.
Yeah.
By the way, the other thing
This guy goes to the doctor. It's on HBO. It's this British Indian guy. I'm mixing
Yeah.
up. Birbiglia has a
Mike
great,
Birbiglia, British Indian guy.
Birbiglia has a great show. He did it live. I think it's now on Netflix, where he does have to start exercising, and he goes to the gym and he sees these old guys naked, and it freaks him out. So he goes to the pool and goes swimming. Anyway, this other guy says he gets sick, and he goes to the doctor, and he's like, "Please don't say it. Please don't say it," because the doctor does his health panel and everything, and the doctor goes,
you lose a few pounds.
He goes, if you eat better and exercise. And he's like, fuck, he said it. But the whole thing is about that, about how like all he needs to do is eat better and exercise. And he wants to do anything but that.
That's hilarious, Nick. I think you lost something in the retelling.
But it's universally true, right? Nobody wants to do the things that work.
It's a very funny comedian. I'll find him.
The other one last thing I'll say is that on the podcasts, and the reason why those are so successful, and we talked about this the other day over text, was that this idea of audience capture.
Yeah.
Once they start down that path and the audience says, oh, I dig that, that's really good stuff. That becomes a flywheel that goes round and round, and they do more and more of it, and they get pushed to the periphery because that's what the audience wants. They don't want to be told to like run, lift, eat better, and stop drinking so much. They want to be told there's a magic thing they can do. And there's, by the way, in addition to that magic thing, there's 4 more, and 3 of them have my brand. Right? And so this idea of audience capture, where increasingly in social media, people get captured by their most ardent listeners, watchers, whatever. That's one of the reasons why this stuff just hits escape velocity and takes off into these wild corners. And so that's a huge factor in what's going on right now. And I see that with all of these. What's the Dr. Mike, the great big lifter guy? Like he's a good example of this. He's a guy that really pushes the idea of resistance training and has a very successful app and everything else. And now there's a big push about why, maybe he's not as credible as a researcher as people thought, and so on and everything else. But he got pushed out to the edges by the lifting community and what you can do to really service the lifting community. And again, audience capture takes you into crazy places. And then next thing you know, you're like, oh my God, can't believe this crazy stuff I'm saying.
Well, it goes, you've seen this across chess and meditation and now in the health industry, where it goes from a podcast to the next step is an app with a subscription model, and that becomes successful, and you're making 12, 15 million a year off that, and now everyone else is downloading it. And
60 million apparently for Dr. Mike's app.
60 million?
60
a
million,
year?
yeah.
Crazy.
The bodybuilder dude.
Yeah. Renaissance periodization. This is this $30 a month program for getting swole. That's what the kids say.
All right. Well, that concludes our second episode on health and wellness. We'll see you all next week.